That worked.
We had somebody walk in and
30 seconds.
That's what we do in
interrupt the whole
Congress.
thing.
There have been
in
timers
Congress.
sometimes who've done it when the
Where
30
was that?
seconds in.
Quit.
Well, that doesn't,
Or the
got
chamber?
30 seconds left.
Who did that?
I don't know who it was, but they come in and yelled at the top of their lungs, "You couldn't have made this any harder." And I was talking and interrupted the whole thing.
You mean harder to find, or?
And hard to find. It's so easy.
And did you meet Nick when he came in?
I didn't, but I met the.
Was that your? I believe it was Troy.
going to be live now.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening. I am Corey Cantrell, a member of the League of Women Voters here in Sioux City. I will be serving as the moderator for this evening's City Council of Sioux City Candidate Forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization whose membership is open to citizens over the age of 16 of any gender. We do not endorse candidates or political parties. We do, however, work to educate ourselves and the public on issues affecting our citizens and government. That is why we are committed to hosting candidate forums like this one. Please visit the League of Women Voters of Sioux City Facebook page to learn more about our varied programs. Our co-host for tonight's candidate forum is Siouxland Go. Siouxland Growth Organization was formed in 2002 to encourage young professionals to become active members of the Siouxland community. They encourage progressive and innovating ideas and bring together voices from all generations to create a positive impact on the future of the Siouxland community. Their goal is to attract and retain young professionals in the area by providing insight on what Siouxland has to offer and how they can get involved in shaping its future. Tonight we will be assisted by the Sioux City's Mayor Youth Commission. The Mayor's Youth Commission represents Sioux City's public and private high schools. The member students are committed to community service. The League of Women Voters of Sioux City is proud to continue our work with the Mayor's Youth Commission and to involve them in this and our other forums and events. We would also like to thank Rachel Lundgren and Mary Coster of Siouxland Cares and the members of that organization and the other adult volunteers for their mentorship of the members of the Mayor's Youth Commission. We would like to thank the mayor and the city support staff, especially City Clerk Lisa McArdle and Deputy City Clerk Heidi Farron for their assistance in making the excellent arrangements for tonight's forum, and particularly the city AV team led by Danny Bach for recording this event to show on Sparklight and the YouTube Sioux City channel. It will also be on the League of Women Voters Sioux City Facebook page. The Facebook page will be monitored for any questions coming in for the candidates. The Mayor's Youth Commission members who are volunteering tonight are Maria McGowan and Ian Wilkie. Let's give them a hand. And serving as our panelists are Bernie Scalero for the League of Women Voters, Nick Drenth of Siouxland Go, and Woody Gottberg, president of the Sioux City Press Club and the news director for KSCJ. On behalf of the citizens of Sioux City, I want to thank our candidates for their willingness to run for public office. The mayor and one city council member will be elected on Tuesday, November 7th. Bob Scott is the sole candidate on the ballot for mayor, so we will not be asking him questions tonight. And at this time, I would like to introduce our two candidates in alphabetical order, Tom Murphy and Julie Shaner. I will get it right. I apologize. Shaner. We will start posing questions to the candidates relative to their qualifications for the position and allow you 2 minutes to respond for our opening, and then the panelists will pose their question. Each panelist will pose a question to be answered by both candidates. And we'll alternate who gets to start first. The candidates will have 60 seconds to respond, and our Mayor Youth Commissioner timers will hold up signs to tell you when 30 seconds is passed, and then when the time has expired. You want to show them those so that they can see what they're looking for. There you go. Between 7:30, 7:45, we will take a short break just to collect questions from the audience. You are encouraged to write your questions on the cards provided or submit them on our Facebook page. And then when we reconvene, I will pose as many of those questions as I can to our two candidates. At the conclusion of the audience questions, each candidate will be allowed 60 seconds for a closing statement. I would like to remind the audience, the candidates, and the panelists that we have any opportunity to model respect for ourselves and others and listening skills tonight, please turn off your cell phones, be courteous and attentive. Okay, so for our introduction, would you please state your qualifications for serving on the Sioux City Council of Sioux City? And what is your motivation for running for office? And we'll start with you, Mr. Murphy.
My qualifications are, I worked for the city for 32 years. I worked in the Sioux City Assessor's Office for 9, went over and went to work for building inspections, started out as a residential building inspector, passed all my certifications, passed my commercial certifications. Then I became the chief and building inspector for the last, 6 or 7 years of my career there. I've done all the big projects in Sioux City, Seaboard Triumph, Warrior, Fleet Farm, all the apartment complexes, Hard Rock, that and my vast construction experience throughout the years. I was a bricklayer for a long time before I did that, and the common knowledge of all the taxes and the zoning and everything from the work at the assessor's office, that's why I feel I'm very qualified for this position.
Thank you. Ms. Shaner?
Yes, thank you.
Here we go. Okay.
I have 4 years of experience on city council thus far. Prior to city council, I was a small business owner that basically started the business from scratch on historic 4th Street. I was successful in that. I took a business that was had a revenue of about $240,000 per year and built it into a business that produced $1.3 million a year. I was considered an anchor. My business was on historic 4th in that we led the charge to encourage other businesses and small business owners to come downtown. I joined the Downtown Partners as a stakeholder to, again, encourage more businesses to come downtown. Prior to that, I have 12 years experience in the banking industry, 6 years experience in the credit reporting industry prior to that. I've had a varied career from cutting meat when I was a young married farm wife for Harker's and Tyson Foods to getting into the white-collar jobs with the banking. So I think I'm pretty varied. I pretty much understand the workforce and what people are up against. And my husband's a farmer, so I understand that we're very deeply embedded in the agricultural industry in this area as well. I'd like to continue my service to Sioux City, if you'll allow me.
And now we'll go to our panelists for their questions. We'll start with Ms. Calero, and you will direct your question first to Ms. Shaner, and then we'll switch off.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. My first question is kind of twofold. It is kind of a general question for the public's understanding. If you could just explain what you feel the role is of the City Council, and then more specifically, if elected, what your priorities would be.
Okay. The role of City Council is policy approval. We have staff that does most of the due diligence. They dive deep into projects, into codes, into things that go on behind the scenes, contracts and things. Those things are brought to us for review, and our role is policy and decision-making at that level. And that's not to say that we don't dive much deeper in, which I find myself doing a lot. I like to be involved in decision-making. I like to be available to staff if they have any questions. I love diving deep into ideas, how we can improve the city. And that's probably the second part of the question is I'd like to continue doing that, coming up with new ways, innovative ways, ways that we haven't tried in the past, to make our city better.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, same question.
I think the role of City Council is to promote economic growth, keep jobs here, make sure the public safety, and start developing some programs to get the infrastructure, water mains, water sewer lines, and stuff like that updated. I'd also like to see some of the city services updated some, people be more personable and more approachable. I had a very good reputation of doing that all along, and I will do that if I become a member of the council. I will be approachable all the times and try to answer as many questions as I can in a thoughtful manner and help anybody I can. So that they can make Sioux City a better and safer place to live.
Thank you. Mr. Drenth, would you like to direct your first question to Mr. Murphy, please?
Yeah. What do you feel is the biggest issue that is facing Sioux City right now, and how do you plan on addressing that issue?
One of the biggest issues in Sioux City right now is the sewage treatment plant. We need to get that squared away and figure out with the businesses what we're going to do and what we can do in the future. We need to, I understand that there's a need for the sewage treatment plant, but we have to get some committees together and work with all the equities, have meetings with the actual people that are the highest users and the DNR and the actual building permits and the plans so we can get this squared away and get this matter taken care of. It'll be the biggest, highest money amount that's ever been done in Sioux City, and that's where I feel my construction experience will really come into play with this matter.
Thank you. Ms. Shaner, would you go ahead?
Yes, I agree with Tom. The wastewater treatment plant is of the utmost importance. We hear statements a lot that we're spending $500 million, we're spending $700 million, and those statements are taken out of context. We have got to rebuild our wastewater treatment plant. We had a choice to rebuild a brand new one, or to rebuild the one we have, or to build a new one. And to be fiscally responsible, we chose to build a new one at the site that it's at now at a total cost of $470 million if we were to complete phase 3. We are committed to fixing up to phase 2, which is a total rebuild where it's at, and phase 2 will also increase our capacity slightly, which the DNR is requiring. We have a lawsuit pending against us for past performance. We've got to face that yet. We have a committee formed. We have people from the public. We have representatives from our sister cities. We have representatives from the industry, 6 of them on that as well. We had our first informal meeting a week ago Thursday. Did that say time was up? Sorry.
Thank you. And Mr. Gottberg, would you like to direct your first question?
I'll stay on that topic. A few years ago, a prominent businessman told me, change orders, that's how you really make your money on these big projects. So with the magnitude of what the wastewater treatment plant is going to cost, I know we have a citizens committee. Is that going to be enough as far as monitoring the additional cost which will come, whether it's change orders or inflation? So knowing what we're supposedly spending, it'll probably end up being more. How are we going to monitor that and keep it on budget as best we can? How can we do that to keep the cost overruns from happening?
We have hired one of the top 10 engineering firms in the country to manage that for us. There have been so many statements made in the past that we never got it right. Different times when the plant has been first built, then updated in the 1990s, then again in 2007. Wrong materials were used, too cheap of materials were used, solutions weren't really found. We decided if we're going to do this, we are not going to be the generation that says they did it wrong, they never got it right. This is our opportunity to right it. And so our engineering firm will also oversee any false actions that might be taking place for overages and things like that.
I think before any work starts on this new sewage treatment plant down there, we're going to have to meet with the highest users down there and figure out what their needs are and their future needs are. And they possibly have, there's been rumors that they're going to build their own sewage treatment plants. If they build their own sewage treatment plants down there, all the wastewater that will come into the plant now, we can have the new plant, but we will not receive the revenue to pay for the new plant. If we don't get the revenue for the new plant, then taxes will go up and the rates and everything that our sewer rates will also go up. We have to make sure that we get started right on this, get with the other people, and make sure that the sewer amounts that they're going to send to us, they don't build their own plants so we can keep this up. I've looked into this a whole bunch. The old sewage plant is kind of old, and we need to do a lot of updating on it and stuff. And the engineering firm and the consultants and stuff have to meet with the other people so that we know the amounts that are going to go through there, and it'll last the future for future expansion.
Can I take my minute? Do I get a minute to review about that? Okay.
I thought you went first.
Oh, I was gonna,
Do we need a rebuttal?
yes,
Okay, how about 30-second rebuttals?
okay.
Okay, 30-second rebuttal.
All right, the plant was built in 1960. It was upgraded with an expansion in the 70s. In 2007 through 2013, other expansions were made. We have met with the industry leaders. Yes, they have talked about an option of building their own plant, namely Seaboard Triumph Foods. We have development agreements with all of the major industry users that tell us this, we tell them this is your limit. This is what we expect to get from you. What has happened is their productivity has increased, and it's going way over that and abusing our plant. And we can't handle that load. It's going to take them 5 years to build another plant. If they want to build their own, it has to be
Okay,
permitted.
I'm
Sorry.
going to say your 30
Okay.
seconds is
Sorry.
up, and
Excuse me.
Mr. Murphy, I'm going to give you 30 seconds too, since we gave Ms. Shaner 30 seconds.
I'm hearing different from the bigger plants and stuff, that they have not been contacted by the council and stuff, and they have not, professionally been advanced so that they know that's been going on. We need to get to the bottom of this. It's going to be the biggest project that's ever been in Sioux City, and we need to get this right so we can do it once and be done with it.
Thank you. Let's go back to Ms. Galero. Do you want to address your first question to Mr. Murphy?
The budget is always a concern. If necessary, where would you cut the city budget? And what would you consider off limits to budget cuts? And if you could explain your answers.
Off limits is public safety, fire, and police. We need that to make our city safe so that we can raise our families. Budget cuts are very, very hard with this day and age because we need so much infrastructure and stuff. I don't see in the future where we can have severe budget cuts. We need to make sure we take care of the first things first, make public safety, and then we can work on federal grants and stuff like that to try to get the infrastructure and streets and stuff like that fixed. And once we get that going and everything, we should be able to keep an even budget. But what times are and the way expenses are and everything, I can't see any severe budget cuts in the near future.
Ms. Shaner.
I agree with public safety. I think we need to continue to fully fund anyone who provides us first response. I voted in the past for 4 police officers. Last year's budget goes around. It takes a long time to hire one. So rather than spread it out, we voted for 4. I kind of led the charge on that. Same thing for fire and safety equipment. Lighting downtown was another safety issue. I think we've done a good job in the last few years building up our amenities to make our city popular, that employers would look to us to have their employees work here and live here. I think we're looking at getting back to the basics this upcoming budget season and sticking to kind of the bare bones. So I'm not sure it will necessarily cut budget, but I think it will hold it.
All right. Mr.
Rebuttal, please.
30 seconds.
Okay. The way we can get the budget more balanced and everything is we can promote more industry and industrial so that we can get the tax base up, and that will help residential property taxes, and it'll also help the city budget and bring more jobs to the city.
Would you like a 30-second rebuttal?
Yes, I would, and that is exactly the path that we're taking, is we're recruiting more industry. But we can't recruit any industry that requires wastewater because our plant is running at 100% capacity. So we've got to get that under control. We've got to start work. The design work takes a year to 18 months. So we can talk to the industry leaders around town while the design is in process. Nothing has been set in stone.
All right, thank you. Mr. Drenth, would you direct your question to Ms. Shaner?
Yeah, this goes kind of in that same vein. So how do you plan on encouraging investment and promoting further economic growth into Sioux City?
Well, we've already done a good job, and we've got it started again with amenities. When I ran the last time, I did a lot of Googling why other cities have grown, and, you know, Sioux City kind of has this little shadow hanging over us that we don't grow. And so much of it said things like amenities. It said that Omaha hired a advertising firm to do research for them. Why are this certain demographic leaving, 25 to 45? And it said, they want paths, they want trails, they want amenities, they want walkways, they want their riverfront developed. And I can't agree more with what we've done. We've embraced travel sports with our expo center. So I think we have those things set into place, and we do have people looking at us right now. And of course, I can't say what they are, but we do. We do. Sioux City is on the verge of being better.
We have a great industrial site down there by Seaboard Triumph where there's a lot of nice ground down there that's nice and flat. We have Interstate 29 that connects to Interstate 90 and 80. We have railroad spurs down there. If we can promote some of the better high-paying mechanical type jobs, and let's say we could get a windmill farm type job, you know, factory down there instead of using wastewater. You get the offices and you get the white collar and you get the blue collar. Once you get that kind of established, that helps the property taxes once again. And then after you get that going, maybe we could get a developer to come in here to build some housing. And we need housing that's affordable housing, kind of like the tracks that are along the highway up in Sioux Falls. That's one thing another thing that we need to do to get Sioux City growing.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Gottberg, would you direct your question to Mr. Murphy?
Sure. New topic. Every morning when I'm listening to my police radio, there's anywhere from 3 to 10 calls that officers are dispatched on to remove homeless people from business entrances, apartment buildings, the library. You can pick your place. This happens on a daily basis. With winter coming soon, one, I don't know if we have enough current space at our shelter for what's been apparently a growing population. What can the city do, or what should be the city's involvement in helping to deal with finding a place for the homeless people of Sioux City? Because every day police are having to deal with them, and it's a daily occurrence.
I have a son-in-law that I've been talking to about this deal, that he has programs. He is based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And he told me that there's a whole bunch of government programs and stuff that can get it going. And once, if I get onto the council, I'll get him to come in, try to set up some committees and everything, and see exactly where the federal money is. And maybe we could convert some other older buildings into some type, even looked at container type housing. It's been all over the nation where people have done the container type housing just to get them in and off the streets, and instead of being a problem and and panhandling and doing everything else. It's not safe up there by the Hard Rock. Somebody's going to end up getting run over and killed, and that's one of the things that I've been checking into. But that is a very tough subject to handle.
I agree. It is a really difficult situation. It's stigmatized by citizens oftentimes, that common statements that we hear are, these people don't want help, or they can't be helped. And they do want help. They just are unable to figure it out. I've worked with our neighborhood services department this past year. They have moved their offices from this building down to street level on Nebraska Street to be more readily available for anyone homeless or anyone experiencing difficulty with their housing. They have integrated into their program intake services, so when they come in, they give them an evaluation, so we better know where we can help them. If they need help with just simple housing, or perhaps they ran out of money and don't have enough money for their down payment for their apartment, we offer those services. We offer transportation services, relocation services. We refer to the Gospel Mission, to Hope Street. Hope Street is a very successful program, and I would like to see the city get involved with them.
Thank you. And Ms. Scalero, we're back to you.
Okay. The Inclusive Sioux City Advisory Committee has been established to increase equity, diversity, and inclusion in city government and the community. As a council member, how would you support or be involved in this committee?
Well, presently I am supportive of our Inclusiveness Committee. Another council member is serving on it at this time, so I'm not on their board, but I'm involved with festivals, with planning for things that are inclusive, different activities. I support our agent who works for us, our inclusive agent, Semhar, and I think we can grow it from where we're at now. I would love to see her department expand over the next couple of years, and perhaps she get a half-time person to come in and help with getting the message out. She works with our sister cities. She's gone to private industry here. I know she went out to Seaboard or to CF Industries and helped when they had a problem. So I definitely support it. I think we're doing a great job, and I think we can continue.
And Mr. Murphy?
Seminar and I worked together quite a bit on the people that would come to Sioux City and open up businesses and stuff. And there was always a problem with the language barrier, and then she would come in and she would take care of that for us. And at that particular time, I would organize everybody else so we could get all the inspectors there at one time, so that if they had questions to ask, we could get it taken care of. And we did quite a few businesses, and with her help and everything, it really worked well. And I agree, if she could get more help, we could, could get more and more businesses started here, because those people just want to start a business up and work hard also.
Mr. Trent?
We've often heard that Sioux City is a blue-collar city, and we see a lot of our growth in these blue-collar areas. How do you see Sioux City developing over the next 5, 10, 15 years as continuing on that same track as developing our blue-collar industries in town, or diversifying into trying to attract more white-collar industries as well?
Yours, Mr. Murphy.
I don't know if we'll ever become a white-collar community again. We've always been a blue-collar community, starting out in the packing houses in the 40s and stuff. But what I would like to see is that we could get those bigger companies to come, for example, Seaboard Triumph, where you can get the 1,000, 1,500 jobs for the blue-collar, but you also have 300 office jobs that are the white-collar, so that we have a mix. If we can get a mix like that and get the companies in here, and then maybe we can expand. It's very difficult where we live with the other cities, given tax benefits and stuff like that. South Dakota has no personal income tax. So that's where we have, the hard thing. But what we need to do is show them that we just have a huge, beautiful lots down there by the airport where we will attract your business and get it built up. And then maybe we could go 60-40, on a deal like that, blue collar and 40% white collar, and then make it work.
I agree. We embrace our agriculture, and we embrace what industry comes along with it. And if we can get larger industries, Tom is correct. With larger industry comes the white-collar jobs that do the admin work and things like that. Support businesses that come in. They want to be by and near the businesses that they support if we would have a huge industry. But with it, we have to consider daycare, where we're going to land these businesses. And I think this business park that we're building, we've acquired several large properties to continue growing that business park down south. And we're ready. We're ready for a big industry to come.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gottberg.
One of the most misunderstood city issues that was fought on Facebook for the last month of summer, where are the Explorers going? So 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, how long should the lease be this go around? It's always been 10 years. Mm-hmm. There's been a pitch to have it only be 5 years. It might be 12 years. If as many fans as argued on Facebook came to the ballpark, we'd have sellouts every home game. But what should it be for the X's? Obviously, a lot of people don't want to lose them.
Right, absolutely. And the city doesn't want to lose them either. I would support a 10-year contract again, absolutely. I was the council member who went down the rabbit hole and reminded folks that looking at a new contract is normal. We did have some, I'm not going to say arguments, but some communication with their owner last year. There was some dispute over who should be taking care of the seats based on their contract. The city did end up getting them, repairing or replacing them all because you couldn't repair them anymore. But at that time, their owner stated to us, I'm going to take these X's and I'm going to leave your city and not come back. So their 10-year contract is coming up, so we have to take a look. We have to have a backup plan and see if there are others interested. Did we want to get rid of the X's? Absolutely not. They're doing great. They've had a great season. We just want to see them continue to build in those stands and perhaps have more community involvement, a little more outreach to get folks to get themselves in the seats. I'd love to see them give a ticket to every kid in school in Sioux City and have a parent come with them and chaperone and give them a taste of what that field's like.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
The Explorers Ballpark has a huge place in my heart. My daughter sang, take me out to the ball game the night it opened. And I think the Explorers should stay here, absolutely. 10-year contract is fine. But I think the stadium ought to be utilized more. I think a lot more high school games should be there. Bring in out-of-town teams, have more Little League type camps down there. It's a beautiful ballpark, and we need to utilize that park as much as we can. I mean, they could have, Dakota Valley come down there and have tournaments and stuff down there and then have the concessions. A lot of times it just sits there, and I realize that the X's, use it for practice and everything else, but I think we could work out a schedule and make that ballpark a lot more usable.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to do one more round of questions and then turn to the audience for theirs. So Ms. Scalero, would you ask your final question?
Okay. I feel like double jeopardy here. I guess my question then is what do you think the city's legislative priorities should be in the next Iowa legislative session? And do you have thoughts on how to strengthen the city's voice in Des Moines?
Mr. Murphy?
Not being from on the council and everything, and the legislative end of it, I'm not too familiar with it. But I think we could get a representative that's down there to sell our city. And to sell our city, I mean by, try to get the businesses and stuff to come here and make sure that if there's anything available federally, that we're in line for it.
We're a member of the League of Cities, so we have them championing for Sioux City and cities of our size in Des Moines. Our Chamber of Commerce, city leaders head over there. They get a chance to state their case, what we'd like to see them fighting for us. We did have a recent reduction in our Iowa income tax, which was nice. I just attended the Tri-State Governors Conference, and they'd still like to lower it even a little bit more. Our governor says she's going to copy what South Dakota governor is doing. Okay, as long as we can do it and get some tax relief to our residents, I can agree with that.
Okay, and Mr. Dripp?
So, as a member of Siouxland Growth Organization, a big part of our mission is attracting and retaining young professionals. And one of my questions earlier was directed to the economic growth of the city. But how do you intend, as far as policies or otherwise, to attract and retain specifically young professionals?
Yes.
Young professionals are looking for, not necessarily the giant cities, they're looking for quality of life, they're looking for work-life balance, and finding employers and working with them, coming out of our universities and our colleges here, placing them in, I just lost my word. I'm sorry. Work and school type jobs, trying to keep them here and showing them what a great community we have. Again, keeping them in their internships, that's the word I was looking for. and giving them a taste of what Sioux City's like, but once again, it wraps around to those amenities. What do I do here? I mean, I think we're rediscovering the museum, the art center, the riverfront, the sports complexes. There's just so much to do, and they are looking for those amenities. They truly are.
I think the secret to keeping our young children here is try to get the businesses to recruit them and find out that the kids have a basic quality of life here in the Midwest and their upbringing and everything, they're good quality kids and that they will be successful. I know we're not going to keep everybody here and the young professionals and everything. I just the other day attended the build down at the Home Builders put on, and I was shocked at how the young kids and stuff are taking to that kind of stuff in the city. And maybe they could do a fair on the professional end of it, like they did for the trades, and get those kids interested, and that people could actually, the businesses, show them what they got to offer them to keep them to stay here.
All right, Mr. Gutberg, final question.
All right, I'll make this another police radio related call. Another call, unfortunately, I hear a lot of is next available ambulance. And a lot of it has to do with mental health calls, suicide-related calls, but we don't seem to have enough ambulances to respond at times. And certainly if there's a fire, sometimes we have at least 3 rigs at that with a couple of firefighters per engine or truck, depending on the nature of it. So to kind of simplify it, do we have enough firefighters? Do we have enough ambulances? I think fire trucks and engines, there's plenty of them by the amount of house fires we have. But do we need more ambulances in towns? I don't know how aware either of you are as far as the big increase in medical runs that have been happening every day. But some days there's more medical calls than we seem to be able to keep up with.
Mr. Murphy?
Sometimes I think the medical calls and stuff like that come with the age of the community. And the best thing that ever happened was putting the ambulances in the firehouse for faster response. And I think in high area calls all throughout the city, there's some firehouses that have twice as many calls as the other. And that's where you get the next backup ambulance that would come from another station if there's a major car accident or something like that. I don't know whether or not it would be feasible to add a whole bunch of more ambulances. I know one thing for sure, when they have a call, 2 rigs come, and most of the firemen are paramedics. So, you know, on the basic stuff, they can kind of handle it, but on the major stuff, the transport to the hospital and everything, that's where the ambulance comes into play.
We took over the ambulance services for Sioux City in 2017, and that was all new to the city. It was privately run before. They went out of business, so we took it over and embraced it. It's staffed with really great experts, but recently, as recent as 2021, we added 4 van-style ambulances that are a little more maneuverable through traffic and through smaller places instead of the big rigs. We just approved replacing 4 of our units with 4 full-size ambulances coming up this next year. So I think we have enough equipment, but the increased calls, and sometimes the calls are for truancy almost, that they're, you know, passed out and things like that. And those things have increased, yes. But yeah, I think we have enough equipment and just possibly staffing. You know, we can be a little bit low on staffing at times, but I do believe that they're doing a good job at what they're doing now.
Thank you. That will conclude our panelist portion of the forum, and I would like to ask the audience to join me in thanking our panelists for their participation. Let's say a 5-minute break at this point because the weather outlook is not looking real great. So if you have questions, please get them written on the cards, and one of the League of Women Voters, Van Gogh, or Mayor's Youth Commission members will collect it for you, and we'll start back in about 5 minutes. Thank you. I
language
could.
right, and stuff. And you talk.
I would prefer not to. I would prefer it if people just sat down so we could start.
Well, that's so dangerous, but
Right.
I have never, ever heard of one blowing.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our break time is over. We would like to go to the audience questions, and I will try to get through as many of them as I can in the time we have left, but we do want to get out of here fairly early tonight because we are supposed to be getting weather in. So we're going to go back to our questions, and I'm going to address this one to Ms. Shaner. What would be your plans to improve the infrastructure, particularly focusing on the city streets?
Well, I've already addressed that, and you will see it on our CIP this year, coming up this winter, well, shortly after the winter. I promised when I took this job, I was asked, do you believe in term limits? And I said I did, but at the state and federal level. I think our community is small enough, smart enough to vote for who they think is doing the job. But I did say I would self-assess myself in the summer before it was time to run again. So I did do that, and I've been on the Public Works team for just 2 of my 4 years, and I didn't give myself a very good score for Public Works because I couldn't find the money to do these $12 million streets. Every block is $12 million to tear it up and replace everything. So I put together the streets and the engineering team and came up with, we're going to see if we can get it approved to do an overlay that is going to last around 12 years. We'll do mill and overlay on the worst of the worst streets. We will look for hot spots before we do it. So if there's any infrastructure that's obvious, we'll definitely go around those, but we'll do a 40-block continuous mill and overlay because we're never going to have the billions of dollars that it takes to replace the infrastructure as quickly as we can. So John and Susan Smith, who work 40, 60, 80 hours a week, should get to drive home on a smooth street.
Thank you. And I think you took 90 seconds
Oh,
on
sorry.
that one, so we'll
Sorry,
give
sorry,
Mr.
I'm sorry,
Murphy.
sorry.
Well,
Okay.
it was a detailed answer, so Mr. Murphy will give you 90 seconds too.
Okay. Personal friend of mine was the old city engineer. Back when I was a kid, they did overlays on all the city streets. It was an asphalt overlay with Sioux Falls granite chips. And they went in and they coated the streets and everything, and they lasted for a really long time. And the secret to it was when they put the chips down into the hot asphalt, they rolled them in instead of some of the way the Nebraska people and South Dakota people do. They broadcast them over hot tar. And he said the same thing. It is too expensive to go in and tear up every street in Sioux City. And if we could get this program initiated and get it going, but the problem with it is we got to make sure that if we have problem water mains and work with the structures underneath there, try to get the really bad ones fixed and make sure they're located so we don't tear up a brand new patch street.
Thank you.
Can I add to that, 30 seconds?
No.
Oh. You'll see it on the CIP.
We're going to go to another question
Okay.
because I have quite a few to get
Okay.
through. So, Mr. Murphy, food insecurity is a major issue in Sioux City as 1 in 10 individuals and 1 in 5 children are hungry. How can we solve the problem of food deserts like downtown where easy access isn't possible?
When I was back doing the inspections and everything, I worked with them when they remodeled all the food kitchen down there and stuff. And I think the downtown really needs some type of a grocery store, and that would help a lot, but we still need points, or maybe we could even initiate some type of a pickup point downtown out of a building, like on a Saturday morning or something, for them to come and get it. That's a really hard question because, it's down at the old Rosenthal plant down there where they have all the givings where people donate and stuff like that. It's hard for them to get it, they take it down to the soup kitchen and stuff like that, but, that's basically for cooking. And then that is a very hard question, and that's going to take a lot of work to get that done.
Ms. Shaner.
I understand food insecurity. I was a food insecure child at times, and I understand the feeling of it. It's not just a hungry tummy. It affects your mental awareness. It affects your ability to intermingle and spend time with friends and teachers, things like that. Sioux City has the Siouxland Food Bank. It provides food to 18 pantries around the city. We have grown the pantries from 16 to 18 now. More churches, more private businesses are getting involved. So we'll continue on that path. Just being readily available. Sometimes it's a matter of showing them where to go. We've got the Gospel Mission. We've got the soup kitchen. There's snacks available at the warming shelter at all times. So we've got a really good start, but that all wraps around with our homeless population as well. So I think sometimes they go hand in hand.
Ms. Shaner, this one's for you. What is your view or belief about public debt? Is it a tool or a liability?
Public debt is a tool. The city keeps their debt down as low as possible. We never ride up at the top of our public debt load. We've kept it at around 50% when we could rise it as high as 64%. We don't. We're very fiscally responsible when it comes to debt, and I think we plan on continuing on that path. Sometimes I want to push it a little more because I'm kind of a spender to get things going in a fiscally responsible way, of course, but we have to get things done. We can't keep saying we can't do it, and look what we have been doing. We've been doing more than we ever thought we would.
Mr. Murphy?
I would like to see the public debt get down as low as it can, and I think we can do that by trying to get more federal grants and more programs going that are government and state involved. But otherwise, you still have to spend money to maintain and do things to keep the city going.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, this is a question that came in through Facebook, and I'm hoping you can explain. I don't know exactly what they mean. It says, please ask you to explain TIF. So I don't know what they mean by TIF. Perhaps you could enlighten us?
It's a TIF district.
Okay.
And it's a tax increment financing, and there's different districts through the town where they, you have to qualify for it and stuff like that, and then there's, it's kind of a complicated deal that when you go to, the TIF districts are a way that they have tax abatement programs and stuff like that.
Okay, Ms. Shaner?
Yes, and what it does is it takes if there's improvements made, it takes the tax dollars that would be realized for the improvement, and it goes into that section. So rather than it going to other places, we keep it in that designated area for growth.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Shaner, how involved are you with our multicultural community and their events?
I'm involved. I just spent 8 hours over at our West 7th Music Festival, and I had a great day. It was the first inaugural festival, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go over there for a couple of hours. I couldn't tear myself away. We had music, speakers, dancers, great food. It was a wonderful event. It really was, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I love going to as many of those events as I can. I can't wait to see what it looks like next year, and I love it.
Great. Mr. Murphy, how about you?
Next year, I'm going to get involved with Hispanic down at the riverfront, and I would like to help out more if I can. If a business comes to Sioux City and they want to get started, I could show them how to get started and even bring them down to City Hall, how to pull permits, how to talk, to the right people, and zoning, and what they can do and what they cannot do.
All right. Economic development continues in Sioux City, but often the west side gets left out. What will be your plan to develop Cook Park? And I think this is a separate question, and future plans for our homeless population, unless that would be involved in Cook Park, I would think would be a separate question. So you want to focus on the west side and Cook Park, please?
Cook Park, they tore the swimming pool out over there, and I don't know whether or not, Girls Inc. is over there, and when they built that building new, I think that was a great asset to it over there. If they would get the Lamb Theater and they could convert that into some housing, if they move back downtown into the building that they're trying to renovate now, that'd be another possibility. But it's actually a pretty nice flat lots over there. That might be a place that they could incorporate and put some low-income housing in.
Ms. Shaner?
Cook Park, I think, has been experiencing some difficulties with those who are experiencing homelessness, have been camping over there. We had some folks reach out to us recently to see what we could do to help. I think outreach is what's going to help Cook Park itself, is to get people out, meet with them, sit down in their area, not expecting them to come all the way downtown. And the city just was approved for a grant that will give us salaries for 2 outreach workers to go out and talk to people, ask them what they need, what do we do, and what can we do to help you? And I think Cook Park would be a great place to start that outreach.
Okay, another question then. Should there be camera surveillance added in the downtown area? Ms. Shaner?
Yes, I think camera surveillance is awesome. I happen to know that due to the camera surveillance that we have that captures license plates, just nabbed quite a financial ring that was getting people to bring money places. And we actually have an officer who is kind of heading up a camera program, and we're applying for some federal and state funds to help fund that. And it will eventually tie into a national camera where it will read what kind of a car, what color of a car, what the license plate was. So when there is chases going on or there's someone who's wanted in another state, we'll be able to capture them, and other states will be able to capture them for us because they'll have those cameras to read. I would like to see us start with our downtown area. That would be great.
Mr. Murphy?
I think cameras would be essential to be in the downtown area. It'd make it a lot safer place to be. People, it would run the people that are down here that are not intended to do business down here, that are intended to do harm to other people. They're going to look at that and say, hey, there's cameras down here. We're going to vacate this area so that we're not on film. I mean, this day and age, pretty near everything there's a camera. Like you see in the bigger cities and everything, the first thing they do when there's a crime is they go into the place and they review the camera footage, and 9 times out of 10, they're inevitable going to get caught.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, we'll go to you for this one. How can Sioux City ensure that people with disabilities are getting matched with the ADA laws?
The ADA laws was a place in my heart. I'm the one that got all the bathrooms and stuff set up through the inspection services and stuff, and make sure doorways and everything so that they could actually use the bathroom facilities and stuff like that. And then engineer got into it for the, getting on and off the streets and everything with the tap pads, I call them, ADA is a very critical thing. I mean, you need to get buildings accessible so people can get in. I mean, it's unfortunate they have to be in that position, and nobody wants to be in that position. And the more that we can do to make it safer for them to get in and out, parking lots, parking lot handicap spaces, make sure people aren't parking in handy and they get fined for doing it, that better off we'll be.
Ms. Shaner?
I echo what Tom says. We also have our human rights that they can complain to if there's something going on. The city supports that. We actually pay salaries there through our budgets. We're very aware that we need to continue to add push buttons on doors. I think we've actually added a couple of those. Mr. Waters kind of tends to lean into that, and we can all understand why. We can see it from his perspective with his input, and I love that about him. He's not afraid to bring it up. He says, I don't want to be that person that constantly brings it up, but he is the spokesperson for other people, and I appreciate that a lot. Anytime that we take out a street or a corner, we have to make sure that we put those little yellow, what do you call them, bump?
I call them tap.
Yeah, we put those little bump pads back in, and we ensure that they're done right. So we'll continue on that fight for people with disabilities and continue getting access to whatever we can.
Thank you. Ms. Shaner, the League of Women Voters began a recycling program years ago with bequest dollars. What concerns do you have with our present services, and how can we increase recycling here in Sioux City?
We have increased recycling Sioux City. We have just placed 6 large recycling containers downtown Sioux City. So anyone who lives downtown or is driving downtown or perhaps lives in an apartment building or doesn't have a recycling bin, they can use those. There's a sorting ability there. We put out literature that shows people, tells them how to do it, what to expect with your recycling. Something else we did for recycling from the public works standpoint is we renegotiated contract with our solid waste, our trash pickup. And it's kind of under trial and error right now, but you may request as many recycling bins as you would like, free of charge. They're picked up free of charge, but we've reduced the number of trips they make to your house to include the trucks in the green. So if we can make fewer trips every other week, we're also taking stress off the streets, gas emissions, all of that. So that decision was made as one whole picture. And so I have had a couple people email me and say, my bin isn't enough. And I say, get another one or get two more if you need them.
Mr. Murphy?
I'm a big sportsman, so anybody that can recycle it takes the time to keep the stuff out of the landfill and keep all the products out of our water system. Take the time to recycle everything you can. We want the future for our kids to have clean drinking water, and we don't want, huge garbage dumps. If we can repurpose that stuff and make it into benches and stuff like that, please do it. Yes, the recycling bins from Gill are tremendous. They're bigger, they're better, and they do a good job of picking them up too.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Murphy, many developers refuse to build and will no longer do business in Sioux City because they claim the city is extremely hard to work with compared to other cities. With those projects now underway in other communities, what can Sioux City government do to be more accommodating?
This is the line of business that I came from. So if I get onto the council, I'm going to go in and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have contractors come in, and all the contractors that have left that I have dealt with, and I know 95% of them, sit down and have a session and see how we can make it easier, how we can make the zoning process, how we can make the process way easier to get the building permits and make it a one-stop type shop so that we can get them out there and get them building. The more stuff that we can get built in Sioux City, the better off we are.
Ms. Shaner?
We are on that track now. The city has recently invested in, I believe it's called the Blue Light Table. And what it does is it allows the developers to electronically send their plans in. They can upload them onto this big, it's like a flat screen TV, but on a table this way. And then they can make their points and things like that on them to expedite. And so we're on phase 1 with that now. And I do think that customer service has a lot to do with it. But I will say that just recently out of the blue, we had a major developer, Mr. Steve Nelson, come to the microphone and say, you know what? I just have to say how smooth our process is going over here at the Benson Building. I thank the city staff for helping and explaining. So it's not all bad.
Okay, this one gets back to a question we had earlier. In a world where the younger generation are not having children quickly enough to replace the retiring baby boomer generation, how do you plan to staff the anticipated economic development? So Ms. Shaner.
That's a tough one because it's true. They're not having babies as early, and some of them aren't having them at all. So we've got to be attractive to lure other people to our city and get them to come here. And once again, quality of life, is our city clean? Is our city safe? Do we have crime? A little bit, but I will tell you what, every time there's a major crime in this city, our police get them every single time. If I hear of a major crime happen, within 24 or 48 hours, I see an arrest. So having a safe, clean, fun city with the opportunity to have a good job, that's what we're building, and we're almost there.
Mr. Murphy.
If we can get the professional kids that leave to go out and start their career as internships in other cities, if we can get them to come back here and raise their family and have their children, then we can reload to get the people back here. And, we have a lot of good stuff here. We have a lot of good sports programs, Little League programs, volleyball programs. The football programs are really good. And, if we can get them to come back and get their families to raise, that's one thing we got to work on. And they've been good at it because they're getting bike trails, they're getting hiking trails, they've done a lot of stuff. So I think we can work on that more and more and get them to come back.
I'm going to skip the preface on this one. What should the city council be doing to get involved in the school districts locally? So how do we support our schools? Mr. Murphy?
Well, that one's a tough one because I don't know what the actual council can do on the school board agendas and stuff like that. But the city is involved because I was involved in all the new elementary schools that were built. And, you know, the city helped them all, you know, do the undergrounds and all their services and sewers and stuff like that. So I think they've done a good job. But there's some things that I do not know until I get into it farther, and I'm not going to speculate on anything. I do not know what the council could actually do to help the school board and the teachers in their business, except maybe some advice, but, you know.
We get plenty of that.
Yeah.
Ms. Shaner?
The same. We're two separate entities. We share the same tax dollars. I will say that's split between us. They have their budget, we have ours, but we are very available to them. Like Tom was saying, when they build a new school, we work on the infrastructure, we help them with all of those kind of planning, make sure it works out all right. We're getting ahead of the traffic issues out on Auto Drive right now. I've already brought that up to my Public Works team because, let's face it, we talk about this new housing development and people are concerned who live on 41st Street, and rightfully so, because for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, it's going to be tough. But let's not kid ourselves. That problem has been there for years, and we haven't tackled it. And I said, and I've talked to a school board member, and I've said, let's get in front of this. Let's not wait until they start building a house. Let's try to change the traffic flow now and get ahead of it. Let's get an idea of what we can do, and I'm not kidding you. I think we already found something.
I would appreciate that greatly.
Yes.
I drive to North every morning.
Right.
Okay. Is your role as a city council member to expand government or limit government reach and ordinances? Ms. Shaner?
I don't think it's to expand government reach at all. I think that we should be reviewing ordinances from time to time. I don't think that we should be operating on 40 and 30 and 20-year ordinances because that's the way they've always done it, i.e. the local ordinance for the showers up here. It wasn't the showers, it was the fact that it's a trailer. So for us to be able to go in and make that exception for that party, that was fabulous. But no, I don't think we need any expansion of government reach. I think we are great where we're at.
I think there's plenty of government now. I just think we need to refine the services that the council does and the services the council overlooks, and make things that are more available and easier to get done, and then everybody will be happy. And you're not going to make everybody happy all the time, but we can streamline some stuff to make it a lot easier.
Okay. I'm going to ask one more question. I have a couple others, but they cover things that we've already talked about tonight. This one goes back to some of the things we've talked about earlier, but it's a little more focused. How do you plan to ensure that all the residents of Sioux City can have access to affordable housing when we have large populations of the elderly, disabled, and underemployed workers who cannot afford the current market rates for housing? So, Mr. Murphy?
That, you know, the problem with affordable housing in the city of Sioux City is we are underdeveloped for lots. We do not have the space. Sioux City is the 7th most spread out city in the United States, and we are in the Les Hills. So it's very hard to develop in the city. We don't have the access like Sergeant Bluff does, where they have the nice flat cornfields, bean fields that they can convert into housing. But I think we might be able to utilize a lot of the houses that are red tagged and be able to take them out and build an affordable type house, kind of like Habitat for Humanity has done. Those work really well. The people go in there and they put their sweat equity into it, and they feel like they have accomplished something when they get done.
Thank you. Ms. Shaner?
Well, we are working on getting affordable housing, and there's such a broad definition of affordable housing. We have affordable housing If you use the calculator that the banks use, it's 1/3 of your income should cover your utilities and your house payment. Now, your income and his income and my income, those are three different things. So mine might be at a $100,000 house, yours might be at a $60,000 house. I mean, we don't know. So for me, and I've said it before, and I don't want to be misunderstood, affordable housing is having a healthy inventory of housing at all price points. And let's not forget that part of affordable housing is apartment living as well. Now, we've got hundreds and hundreds of apartments being built. We have a 55-plus apartment dwelling being built, reconverted downtown where the old Howard Johnson was. We have a housing development that the city owns the land. We're looking at the Woodbury Heights on the far west side. Those homes will not necessarily be low-income housing, but transitional housing from perhaps someone who's in a starter home and they're ready to go to the next level, but they're not ready to step into a $500,000 house.
Okay. All right, thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and Siouxland Go, I want to thank our audience. Oh, I forgot something here. Let's have some closing statements. This is a little thing up at the top there. Okay, closing statements, 60 seconds. And Ms. Shaner, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's folks like you and folks who are writing the comments in that ask the questions. That's the reason that I come to work every day. I was one of those people that used to ask the questions. Why don't we do this? Why should we do that? How about doing this? And those questions are kind of what keep me going. I'm reminded every day that our council shapes a lot of things in the city, and I work hard every week to continue things moving along. I try to kind of shorten meetings if I can to say, let's not wait a month to come back. Let's stay an extra 10 minutes, and let's see if we can wrap it up this time without takeaway. My family lives here, and I want my grandkids to continue to live here when they grow up. I know we all have families, and if families are successful, our city will be successful. And that's what we're all here for, to make our cities better for our community. That includes our friends, family, and those who we don't know yet.
And Mr. Murphy.
I would like to tell everybody, thank you for coming out on a rainy night like this. It's miserable out. First of all, the reason I want to run for city council is I want to make Sioux City a safe, better place to raise our families and everything. And I feel with my vast experience and all the stuff that I've done in Sioux City, I will be a great asset. Also, the things that worry me was the sewage treatment plant. I'd like to be, and get my hands on that and work on that quite a bit, and just continue the quality of life that we have here. And also the main thing is public safety. Try to get those water mains fixed. Try to get that kind of stuff. That's not going to hold up the progress of the city.
Thank you. Okay, now I'll do my closing statement. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sioux City and Siouxland Go, I want to thank our audience for attending in person or watching online tonight's forum. We also wish to thank the city for working with us to arrange for the cable TV and YouTube coverage of this event. Above all, we wish to thank our candidates for their cooperation and commitment to public service. Please give them a round of applause. The election will be held on Tuesday, November 7th, with the polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. A listing of your precincts is available from the County Commissioners of Elections at the Woodbury County website or at the Woodbury County Courthouse in room 103. There are two other methods to cast your ballot. You can fill out an absentee ballot request form. Those are available in the entry area if you want to pick one up tonight, and mail it to the Woodbury County Commissioner of Elections, who then will send you a ballot to complete and return by mail by the time the polls close on November 7th. You may also opt to vote early by casting an absentee ballot in person at the auditor's office in the Woodbury County Courthouse, room 103, during regular business hours beginning on October 18th. If you have questions, you may call the Woodbury County Commissioner of Elections at area code 712-279-6465. Anyone 17 years or old may register to vote in the first election after they turn 18. We have a voter registration forms out at the entry table. You may register to vote at your precinct on Election Day, provided you bring acceptable ID, driver's license, or other photo ID that is current, valid, and contains an expiration date and has your current address. The League of Women Voters of Sioux City and Siouxland Go will host a Sioux City Community School Board Candidates Forum on Monday, October 16th at 7 p.m. at Western Iowa Tech in their community college in their Rockland Center, parking lot 2 and entrance 6 for the most direct access. Should you wish to learn more about the League of Women Voters of Sioux City membership and our focus on nonpartisan and voter member education on issues facing our nation, state, and city, please stop at the table as you leave for membership information, or you can email us at lwvsiouxcity@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Facebook. Thank you again for your participation this evening, and remember to vote in this and every election. Your vote is a precious gift. Use it wisely on November 7th. This will conclude our candidate forum for the City Council.
Okay, so we see the picture.